Welcome back to It's Too Easy podcast, guys. I'm Jake. This is my brother Zach. And last week it was again just too easy for us. We got absolutely hot in the college football NFL atmosphere. Gave out a lot of winners. Was not expecting to absolutely just go off like that last week. So let's hopefully keep the momentum this week with this week's picks. And thank you guys again for tuning in. But let's go over a little recap of last week. Zach, let's talk a little bit about some of those winners we gave out. First one was FSU and Clemson, the under 55.5 we called. I know you're on the wrong side of the money line on Clemson.
Yeah, they lost on a touchdown in overtime.
That's
They
right.
smoked
Yeah.
they smoked the 29-yard field goal for the win anyway, which pissed me off.
That's what it was. They missed the field
Yeah,
goal. I forgot about that. But yeah, no,
yeah.
the under ended up smacking. That was a huge hit for us. The next game was Utah. We had -4 against UCLA. We were talking about that was if Cam Rising plays, but we did end up placing that bet regardless. Just felt strong about Utah at home. They came out and played solid defense. Didn't allow
I don't even
UCLA to
know.
run the ball at all.
Did they score any points? I don't know if UCLA scored the football
I
at
think it
all.
was 14-7 final.
Okay,
So
yeah.
yeah, I don't know where they ended up scoring that, but close game. Utah defense obviously just superb on that side of the ball, and at home they definitely took care of business
hmm
there, especially against the UCLA team that had a little bit of hype, being undefeated going into that one.
Yep. Yeah, I know Washington State as well. Went in at home against a good Oregon State football team. We talked about liking +3.5 on Washington State. We like Cameron Ward. Had a bounce back year or bounce back week against them this year after losing to them last year, and they won yet again. Oregon State did make a run at the end, but most of the game Washington State controlled steadily. We smacked the money line, smacked the +3.5 on that. That was beautiful, and it's going to be interesting seeing Oregon State's matchup again this week with Utah now.
Yeah, and the plus 125 there just felt like it was almost free money at that money line. Cam Ward was absolutely on a revenge mission. I think that he kind of showed it early on in that game. They were able to just kind of control the game. He had a lot of 15-yard plus passes, and
hmm
there's nothing that they could really do to stop him. So hopefully this will be able to clue Oregon in on what they need to be able to do against Oregon State when they play them further on in the season. For my Ducks.
hmm
Next game that we picked, Ole Miss and Bama. I had the under 57. That was an absolute lock.
hmm
I think the game was like 37 points total or something less than that maybe. So that was -135. That was an easy pick for us. Um, yeah, nothing really more to say about that. I was expecting Ole Miss to come out and play a better brand of football. Um,
They did in
couldn't
the first half.
couldn't
Yeah.
cover the +7, but I think it's just one of those things where it's just Bama bouncing back, and Lane Kiffin doesn't necessarily have his number like Sarkisian does.
hmm
So yeah, Saban's
Yeah,
gonna have them boys ready to play.
Bama got back to running the football, which was good to see because usually they win a lot of games by, dominating the line of scrimmage and running the football down your throat, and they were able to do that in the second half for sure.
Yeah, they definitely started to open up things with the run game in the second half. The next game we talked about a little bit was Texas -15 against Baylor. We talked about kind of how bad Baylor's been playing, and Texas was
They're
able to just
terrible.
lay it on them like we thought.
Baylor is
So
horrendous at football.
yeah,
Yeah.
that felt free at -110 for sure. Notre Dame, Ohio State. I know that was a bit of a bummer for you watching Notre Dame kind of blow that one late. I mean, it just came down to not giving them the ball with that much time left, and running
Yeah.
it with Estime instead of passing it on third down. I think it was they.
Well, they had
Yeah, it was
first
just
down, and you could have ran the football. Estimate just got 11, and it was a first down, and then you could have ran it again, and they throw an incomplete pass, and then it's like, okay, cool. Or no, he got sacked, is what happened. So
yeah,
he lost 5 yards. It was 2nd and 15. You can run it again and at least keep the clock going, and you throw another pass, and it's incomplete. It's like you just save the other team a timeout or 45 seconds, depending on how you want to look at it. At the end of the game, Ohio State starts to drive. They converted, I think, two or three fourth down conversions, but they had the would have been, I think, intentional grounding, which would have ran this time off the clock. But they had a timeout still, so they called timeout, used it, and they were back at the 35. Converted again, put the ball at the 1, and then those last two plays, Notre Dame had 10 players on the field, and they ran it straight in the gap of the front line. Like it was just, yeah. After
I
the
was
Clemson
pretty.
heartbreak, I was heartbroken by seeing Notre Dame fall like that as well because I did want them and I still like them going forward.
Next game that we ended up winning out on was Penn State. I bought down to minus 13.5 versus Iowa. Didn't even need to. They won
Hmm.
31-0. Iowa didn't have anything going.
Yeah,
Um,
terrible.
McNamara is terrible. So that's
It's
about
not
all
hard to
I
see
can
why
say.
McCarthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, not hard to see why McCarthy took his job. Yeah.
Yeah. Next game, UNC bought down to minus 6.5 against Pitt. Didn't necessarily
Hmm.
need to, but Pitt was able to keep it close. Had a nice punt return or kickoff return in the second half that kind of kept them in the game. But UNC was able to kind of edge it out by I think 17 or 14, whatever it was. It was a pretty convincing win. You never know with an ACC team.
Hmm.
So, what did you think of that UNC?
Yeah, it was. I had UNC in one of my parlays with the Seahawks and the Eagles, and that was the first game I had to get through on the weekend. I watched Pitt go up 21-14, and I got a little nervous, but yeah, UNC bounced back quick, went up 28-21 real quick after that, and kind of ran away with it from there. UNC's looks solid. Drake May doesn't look like that good of a quarterback, to be honest with you. So it's interesting to see how the rest of the season goes for him and if he does still have the draft stock that he has, which I think a lot of it's just based off of his frame, not based off of how good of a quarterback he is.
The other game we absolutely crushed Washington minus 20.5 versus Cal. We talked about that. We said Washington was going to go up 3 scores early, and they did. So
And
pretty much just went exactly how we thought it was. Washington rolled. Penix has 3 receivers averaging over 100 yards a game. Absolutely
one of them
nuts.
was out.
Yep,
One of
one of
them
them
was
was
out.
out. Still
Yeah.
absolutely crushed. Didn't matter. Washington's defense showed up in the second half. They kind of let up a little bit, but it's because they were up so much. So didn't really matter. They still ended up, I think, winning by like 29 or something, 27 or something like that. But yeah, Washington looks solid. Hate to say that as a Duck fan as well, but you know what? It's just the nature of the Pac-12 this year, where everybody's stacked. There's so many quarterbacks this year that are all going to be vying for that Heisman spot. So let's gear up for it, and let's hope Dan Lanning has these boys ready to go against some of these better teams because Washington, you better know, is going to come out ready to play against us.
They
So
definitely will. Michael Penix is a dog.
yeah, for sure. Transitioning over to the NFL games that we bet, ended up going 10-1 on the picks that I gave out last week, which is incredible. I know a lot of them you were also on top of, which was money.
Hmm.
Eagles money line versus Bucks. We had at minus 230. That was an absolute slam. They crushed them. We just knew that the Buccaneers weren't going to be able to continue that momentum, and we just didn't feel the undefeated team was going to be the
Yeah, they're
Bucks.
not 3-0.
So
Yeah,
nah. Niners minus 9.5 was an absolute smash.
yeah,
Crushed
that was
that
easy
minus
Thursday.
125. Love that. I picked the Titans +3 versus Cleveland. I didn't think Cleveland would be able to maintain the offensive pressure that they were able to do before with Chubb. But without him, they
Hmm.
were able to sign Kareem Hunt. He kind of got back to his business with that team. Everybody knew kind of who they know him. And he was able to kind of get back into operations, well. And that, I feel like the offense, they were able to maintain it. And with the level that defense is playing at, they could be a top 5 team in the league. Um, but this week they have a really tough challenge against the Ravens. So yeah, not expecting them to come out and put a hurt on the Titans, but here we are. This
Yeah, I
game.
thought it was going to come down to coaching because we talked about how it's both teams like to run it and they both can't really run it with the guys that they have because Henry's been struggling, which he did again, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously no Chubb. So then it was quarterback play, and I think the Titans had under 100 yards, and Deshaun Watson stepped up and he looked good again. He was 27 of 33, had I think 280 yards score. Obviously, Amari Cooper looked good in there, so it did come out to the defense. Was phenomenal, gave up 3 points, but Deshaun came to play and he looked solid. So we'll
Yeah,
see how he
shout
does
out shout
moving
out to the
forward.
Cleveland O line and D line. Like they've been playing lights out. Like even
They're incredible. Yeah.
with Deshaun, like they've just built those lines up to stay, and I think that team's going to be pretty good in that division moving forward. So
Hmm.
yeah, Saints +3 against Green Bay. We hammered at minus 150. I think it was +2.5, and we ended up buying it to +3.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Saints were up the whole game. Carr gets hurt. Green Bay comes back in the fourth quarter and wins 18-17. Pretty uneventful game. Not really much else to say about it other than
Yeah.
not good on Jordan Love to lead his first comeback of the season. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and the Saints are gonna regret having Will Lutz traded. Like they said, all right, let's give it to this Blake Groupie kid,
Hmm.
and he goes out there and misses the game winner, and from it wasn't that far, 40 yards maybe. It was interesting transitioning to without Derek Carr in the game.
Yeah.
So having him come out, Jameis stepped in, and he actually didn't do too bad. But they obviously stalled, having gone up 17-0 early, and then losing 18-17. It's not the way that they
Yeah,
wanted
with
to see it.
Jameson, I feel like they have to get back to the basics of running the ball. I mean, it's the same with Carr, but Carr is a little bit more consistent, I would say, than Jameis. So I think with Jameis,
Hmm.
you have to be able to open the field up to get him to release wide receivers down the field. So we'll kind of see how that goes for them. But Carr's week to week, so hopefully it'll just be like a week injury, maybe a week out for him, and then he'll be back the following week because
Hmm.
they've got the beef of their schedule coming up. So
Yep.
yeah,
I
next
know we
game
both
we
also liked the Chargers. We both
yeah
were huge on the Chargers because we were talking about the playoffs. One team's going to make it, one won't, and we said Chargers are going to find a way to win it with the plus money and everything. They came out, they almost choked it, but they got the job done at the end of the day.
yeah
They did lose Mike Williams for the season, which is huge. So it's going to be tough moving forward. Their rookie Quentin Johnston might have to step up, but also Josh Palmer is another guy that Herbert is comfortable with. So it'll be interesting to see if he steps up or what his production starts to look like in the next couple weeks.
yeah. That's such a dagger losing Mike Williams again. It's just
Hmm.
you just hurt for
Again,
Herbert. Yeah, and
again, yeah.
Keenan Allen had I think like 200 yards receiving or something like that. Just like
Hmm.
crazy.
And he threw a touchdown pass to Mike
Yeah,
Williams
he
as well.
did.
So
Yeah, that was
yeah,
awesome. So,
coming for Herbie's starting job right there.
yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
then that was quite a game. Kirk Cousins throws for over 400 yards. I mean, crazy
This
game.
guy again,
Yeah,
again. He's got
stud.
450 plus yards, maybe 500. Yeah, it's incredible through
Hmm.
3 games.
Yep.
Yeah.
Next game on the slate was yesterday. Bengals Rams. Bengals took care of
Hmm.
business. Were able to win. Had the money
And
line
we
there
said that
minus
too.
125.
Yeah.
Yep.
We said it's like we don't think it's gonna be pretty. Burrow's gonna play even if he's not healthy, and they're gonna find a way to get it done, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. It just fell right into place.
Yeah.
One after that, Seattle minus 5.5 versus Carolina. Seattle came out, covered that. I think won by 10.
They won
That
by
team
10,
is
but man, they kicked 5 field goals to start the game, and I
yeah,
guess
they
that's
did.
good because Jason Myers got going after starting 3 of 6, I believe it was, in the first couple weeks. So it was good to see him start making field goals. But um, Smith and Jigba, you still haven't noticed that he's even on the field, which is kind of interesting for someone that they picked so high and
Yeah,
had so
definitely.
much hype around him. So we'll see how they do. But yeah, that was a good pick. And Andy Dalton came out balling. I was a little nervous about it with Dalton coming in because he
I
was
was
solid for the Bengals.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised that Carolina's defense kind of stalled, after the first good couple opening weeks. I didn't think that of all the offenses to kind of take it to them would be Seattle, but then again, I
Yeah.
mean, it just felt right that Seattle was going to win that game after the struggles with Bryce Young. So,
Hmm. Yeah.
the next one that I know we were kind of flip flopped on. I know you liked the Jets, but I had the Pats money line against the Jets.
You did.
Total.
Yep.
We knew that was going to be a defensive game. It's just going to
Yeah.
be about which team was going to be able to kind of clutch it up late. And Pats were over. It felt like they were due for a win, and Pats were able to just kind of come out and get the dub. Basically, I mean, there was
Belichick's won 15 straight against the Jets now, which is incredible.
yeah.
One of these
I
days,
still
the
don't
Jets will
think.
get him.
Yeah, I think maybe it's going to take Aaron Rodgers coming back for that to happen, but
Yeah.
I mean, Zach. I mean, they're in all kinds of trouble with Zach Wilson. I think I think Joe Namath said it best. That he's just not their guy. He's just not
Yeah.
going to be their guy.
Please, as I don't like the Jets at all, but please, as a fan of football, Jets need to trade for Gardner Minshew or Kirk Cousins. Kirk's
Yeah,
on his last year with the Vikings. It's like you don't have to give up a lot for him. It's not like they're doing well. They're 0-3. You could probably get him for like a second or third round pick, maybe even less than that. Go get Kirk and win some football games. The Jets could compete. Obviously, I took the Dolphins to win the division, but the Jets are good enough to compete with a good quarterback. And Kirk Cousins has been playing good football. He does turn it over a bit, but with how good the defense is, he'd be good enough to win. and Gardner Minshew is an animal, and he wins. And I took the Colts, so shout out to him because I needed that plus 310 last week. But he's a winner.
Yep.
Gardner Minshew's always been good, and I hope that the Jets go get a quarterback because Zach Wilson is an absolute certified bum.
Yeah, that dude sucks, I must say. That is why I had the Pats. But Bills and Commanders also played. Bills absolutely smacked the shit out of the Commanders, like 37-3. We had Bills minus 6.5. That was no problemo.
Yep.
So I
Yeah.
think we
Sam
like them
Howell's
again
not
this week.
good. Sam Howell is not good. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I said
I
they should
mean,
go get Lamar with the weapons they have and the defense they have. They didn't. They need Lamar. Sam Howell's terrible.
yeah.
Four picks, 3 points. I'm just gonna say that.
Last two were Steelers +3 against the Raiders. Steelers ended
I
up
ended up going with
actually.
the Raiders. So you were all
Oh
over that
yeah,
one.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. We were on opposite ends of the stick on that
Yeah.
one. Steelers finally put it together a little bit on offense. Must say though, still can't find a way to incorporate Najee in the offense. I was not impressed with how they're incorporating Najee. I thought that overall the offense looked better, but they have to find better ways to find Najee in space. I just don't know what the problem is, like why Matt Canada can't get him in space, but
Yeah. I
I
mean,
don't
they
know.
won by 5, I think, with 3 interceptions on Garoppolo. So why it was that close, I don't know. Why the Raiders had the ball at the 8 yard line and kicked a field goal with under 2 minutes left, down eight.
No,
Also, don't know
that
why.
was
They did get.
terrible.
I'll say they did get the ball back. So if they went and scored a touchdown, they would have won, and the coach would have been praised for it. But they didn't. So what are you doing?
But if you
Is
have
my
to score a
question.
touchdown anyways, why are you kicking the damn field goal? Because you think you're going to win the game? Like, no, dude, it's the NFL. Like, come on.
Yeah.
You're playing the Steelers defense, man. Like, be real with yourself. You think you're going to get 7 first downs and win the game with freaking Jimmy G as your quarterback? Really?
Hey,
I don't know.
Devontae went crazy though. My
Yeah, I
boy
mean,
Devontae
Devontae
went
is going to
crazy.
Devontae, but if they're not going to win games, he's going to be wanting out of there quick.
Oh yeah,
So,
and I would be interested to look for a Chiefs team to go get him.
oh.
Give him a quick, 6 weeks, go win us a Super Bowl, and come back out because they need a receiver. They're not good enough.
It depends on if they get that Kelsey contract restructured first, because I think they still need to pay him first. But
I'm not sure. I don't. I know they have no cap space. It's like under $1 million. But
yeah, if they were to go out and get Devontae, they would be in the negatives, and Kelsey's going to be worth way more money at this point.
yeah, I would love to see how the Buccaneers hold up and how the Raiders do because Devontae or Mike Evans or Chris Godwin, any of those guys can go to the Chiefs and they can win it all.
Yeah,
And like if they're not
the
getting a
Chiefs could
good
win it right now.
receiver, I don't
Yeah,
think so.
I mean they
Maybe
could.
with all the Swift hype, but I'm still taking the Eagles Swift Kelsey pairing over Taylor and Travis. So we'll see how it goes.
I have liked the look of that team though with Chandler Jones back, or is it Chandler Jones? Chris Jones.
Chris,
I keep getting them mixed up. But yeah,
yeah,
Chris
Chris,
Jones is back, and I think since he's been back, they've looked a lot better on defense. So definitely, their secondary looks like they've just playing a lot better and more cohesive with their D line being able to get to the quarterback. So yeah, must
yep,
say they've looked a lot better. Last game was the Lions versus Atlanta. Lions got that dub. They look
yep.
solid.
I thought they were going to win by 20. They only put up 20. However, they won by 14. So let's go Lions. That was my pick of the week. Kept me alive, unlike the Cowboys for so many people who looked like straight dog shit.
Yeah.
And again, can't stop the run just like last year. So why we didn't go out and fix that, I don't know. You tell me.
What
Obviously,
didn't
all three pro linemen were out for the Cowboys, but obviously the offense wasn't the problem. If you watch the game, they had 400 plus yards. They can't stop the run. They had 10 penalties at halftime, and they gave up 200 on the ground at halftime. It's like you can't do that to win a game. And then again, kind of the same situation as the Raiders. Cowboys go down 8. They could have kicked a field goal with like 11 minutes left. They didn't. They went for it, missed it. Then they kick a field goal the next possession. Why? It's like at
no.
that point you might as well go for it again. And then 2 plays later, Cardinals get back in the end zone.
Yeah,
Shout out
pretty
to
poor
them. Maybe
coaching.
maybe it's the Cowboys tanking for Caleb after all. I don't really know, but who knows?
I just think with that
Zach's not the
defense is
problem,
gonna
but
that defense is gonna be able to figure it out. I think that it just kind of was one of those things. They lost Trayvon, had a couple of guys out, And it's just one of those games where it's like a typical Dallas game where they're favored by a lot. Everybody's got them in their parlays, and of course they're going to be the team to blow it for you, and everybody's going to
Yeah.
laugh at them and go,
I'm
there's
glad
all
I
the
didn't
hype
touch
gone.
it.
Yeah,
I'm just glad I didn't touch it because I was
yeah,
like, I don't think I've seen us beat the Cardinals. I think we're 1-8 against them. I think in the last 9 games, and I can't remember watching them beat the Cardinals. It's insane that the Cowboys couldn't stop the run last year. And you go out, you get a linebacker in the draft, which you need. He tears his ACL, but there's other linebackers, there's other defensive front guys that can stop the run, and we didn't go make a move for any of them. We got Stephon Gilmore. We didn't really need Gilmore. He's great, and now we need him now that Trayvon's gone.
yeah.
But we need a Demario Davis or a Levante David or someone, Bobby Wagner. We had talks with him. Go out of your way and get someone who's a good linebacker, stop the run, or good defensive front. The Niners got Hargrave, and they already had a good front and run stopping linebackers. It's like you got to be able to compete. You got to play defense. I said it before. Cowboys aren't good enough. They need better linebackers, better corners, and now we have no depth at either position.
Tough game from them. They're going to have to turn it around this week. But yeah, I mean, still from us, absolutely crushed it in NFL 10-1. It's a great week from us. Let's try and keep that momentum going into next week. I know last week we gave out a couple of UFC plays, give out Usman to win. That ended up smacking, ended up giving out Argetta and Johns to go over 1.5 rounds. That ended up reaching the decision. And we gave out Brian Battle to win. He ended up securing the win with a second round choke. A guillotine in the second round. So all three of our picks hit really without much to sweat about. So that was awesome. Had another good run in the UFC. Unfortunately, there's no card this week, but next week there's going to be incredible cards. So I'm sure next week we'll have some good chatter to talk about with the UFC. But for this week, we do have another good slate with the CFB and the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
We've been talking about it a little bit the last couple days, but the first game on our slate for college football is Utah and Oregon State. That's 10 versus 19. Oregon State just suffered their first loss. We talked a little bit about that game with Cam Ward and how they were able to bring it back late, but Washington
Mm-hmm.
State was able to just kind of control the game. Who do you like for that Utah versus Oregon State game, Zach?
Yeah, I'm a little bit torn on it. I don't know if Cam Rising's going to play because we're now 4 weeks in. Utah's 4-0, and so they might feel like they don't need him to play right now.
Yeah,
But going into Corvallis, it's going to be tough. Obviously, watching UCLA run for 450, and then the next week playing Utah and getting completely shut down. It's going to be interesting to see if Damian Martinez is able to run the football for 100 yards like he usually does against that good defensive front. Because if he can't, it's going to be on DJ, who I'm not sold on as being necessarily good enough to win. I think he is good enough to win if it's very close, but that's going to be dependent on if their defense can stop Utah, whose offense hasn't looked good. I do think it takes a step up if Rising plays. So I'm leaning on going Utah plus the points, which I believe is 3.5, because I'm not sure who's going to play. But either or, I feel like Oregon State could win it, but I'm just going to stick with the Utah points.
gotcha. Yeah, I feel like the Utah points is kind of the safe bet here. I do like that. The reason I'm taking Oregon State money line in this game is one, they're at home. Two, Utah put up 14 points on UCLA's defense.
Yeah.
Like UCLA has never been good at defense. For Utah to be as good as they are on the O line and D line and to only put up 14 points, I just feel like Oregon State's going to be able to win that battle in the trenches eventually, and they'll be able to squeak this game out by maybe like 10 points at home. I think
Yeah.
that they're just going to be able to come back from that loss last week, have a little bit of fire under their ass, a little bit of vengeance on their mind. And I think that if Cam Rising plays, I would definitely take the Utah plus the points. But if it's going to be that backup quarterback, I see Oregon State taking it to them. Utah
Yeah, me
defense
too.
may be able to they may be able to keep them in it, but I still think Oregon State is going to win by probably 10 points, maybe 14 points.
I could see that with no
Next,
Rising. Yeah.
yeah, with no Rising, definitely. Next game on the slate, we were talking about BYU and Cincinnati. BYU's had a
Go
couple good games.
Cougs.
Had a couple good games this year, and Cincinnati's looked a little bit shaky, but they've also had a couple good games. Cincinnati's the favorite in this game, which doesn't make too much sense to us considering BYU's got that transfer from SC/Pitt and Keaton Slovis, and he's looked pretty good in the first few weeks. So for that reason, I like BYU money line, and I believe you also like BYU money line. That's plus
Yep.
money there. And last week, our Washington State money line hit, so we're keeping our fingers crossed because that BYU didn't hit last week. But this week, we're expecting the bounce back. We're expecting them to win this game against Cincinnati.
Yep, I definitely like them. I watched Cincinnati against Pitt, and they did look pretty solid under Emory Jones as the QB that they have over there. I think it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a fun one. I think it might be end up being pretty high scoring. But yeah, I'm sticking with BYU. I think they're getting two and a money line. Yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
go
So that's
Cougs.
BYU and Cincinnati. Go Cougs. Shout out your boy Mitchell, one of your best buds.
Yep. See Mitch if you're listening.
Next game is USC and Colorado. This one we can talk about for hours, but we'll try and stay brief with it. USC is 21.5 point favorites going into Colorado. Obviously, Colorado walked into Autzen last week and got their asses absolutely handed to them.
Let's go
Not much,
Ducks.
not much to say other than go Ducks. I loved watching that. Just the media around the game, the way the game went. I felt like Ducks came out ready to prove a point. I loved it. Um,
Puddles took it to him, so
yeah,
yeah.
Puddles was the meme king of the freaking stadium.
uh,
Colorado talked their shit, but couldn't back it up. Boys from the green and yellow look solid, so I'm loving it. Um, SC 21.5 point favorites, but must say their defense looked pretty shaky going into their first road game at ASU. So let's talk a little bit more about that one.
Yeah, I definitely am going to take 21 and a half points. That's three scores at home for Colorado after getting ran. I think it's kind of going to hit them like, okay, we actually got to try and be good at football and not just get hyped up and pretend we're good. They
Yeah,
played no one good the first 3 weeks. Now they're playing another great team in SC. 21 points is a lot of points to give up for a USC defense that is horrendous. They were terrible last year. It's a Lincoln Riley team, and they don't play defense typically. So I do expect a high scoring battle. I don't know if I love it at 75 points for the over under, but
yeah,
I'll take Colorado to cover, just assuming that maybe they put up 28 and they can hold SC to 49, maybe. We'll
yeah.
see.
I mean, we took Colorado to cover last week against Oregon. Then Oregon just came out and played their best brand of football. So it's going to be interesting to see if USC is kind of able to put their best brand of football together. Because I think if they are and their defense is able to put it together and stop Shador and sack him like Oregon was able to, then they're going to be able to cover the 21.5. But at home, I feel like Colorado is going to have to bounce back. It just doesn't. We took them
Yeah.
last week and they weren't able to get it done. So I mean, it's hard to not pick them, and especially at 21.5. With it being
I mean,
USC though,
Dion.
yeah, with it being USC though, it's just tough because Caleb Williams, Heisman, like he's got all the pieces of the puzzle. Lincoln
Mhm.
Riley is his coach, um, so I think I like buying Colorado plus 24 there. I think 21.5 is probably going to end up being where it's at. I think this is probably like a 45-24 game where USC just ends up pulling it out late. But 20-21 points probably for USC. I think that 21.5 is a little close. So if I could get maybe 24 at minus 150, I would take that. So plus
Yeah.
24 for Colorado at minus 150. I'll ride with that.
Hold on. I like it.
Yes, sir. So next game that we talked about a little bit was Texas and Kansas.
Mhm.
Obviously, Texas has had a strong start to their season. Just took it to Baylor. Kansas is also undefeated. Has Daniels back. Strong start to their season. What do you think is going to happen in that one?
Texas ran them last year, literally. I think they had 450 rushing yards.
Yeah.
I know Bijan had 250 and four scores by himself. Brooks had another 102 scores, and he's still there. I think Quinn Ewers threw the ball 12 times last year, and they put up 55. He can throw it, and Xavier Worthy can catch it, and Jonathan Brooks can run it.
Yeah.
I do like Kansas's offense, but knowing they put up 14 against Texas last year, I honestly, everyone talks about Daniels, the QB for Kansas. He's good. I prefer Bean, the backup. If he was playing, like I really like that kid. To get he can run it, he can throw it, and I feel like the team rallies better around him. 16 and a half points is a lot.
Yeah.
So was 15 for Texas last week, and we didn't really worry about it. I do think Texas has games where they don't really show up, and
Yeah.
especially after having beaten a couple tough teams, and then just waxing the floor with Baylor, I could see them not really show up to play this week. But
Especially
it
in
is
the
at
first
home,
half. They have trouble in the first half, it feels like.
yeah, and it is at home. What did you say the over under was for this game? Because I don't
The
think it's going to be
over
as high
under
scoring.
Yeah, the over under 62 and a half, which feels incredibly high for
62 and
this
a half.
game.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm going to lay the 16 points because of how I do feel about Kansas being a decent team and Texas maybe not showing, but under 62 and a half, I think I'm going to ride that. Texas's defense, I think, is giving up like 14 a game with the 24 to Alabama included in that. Uh, and yeah, they have a solid defense, solid offense, but 62 is a lot of points.
Yeah, and if Texas has a slow start like they did this first couple weeks in the first half, then I feel like the under is definitely a slam. So, yeah, I'm with you there. Under 62 and a half feels great for that Texas Kansas game. Next game that we're also taking an under on, LSU and Ole Miss. Another SEC
Hmm.
battle. Ole Miss just got absolutely dogpiled on by Bama's defense. It feels like this is another one of those SEC games that's going to go under. 67 is a lot of points. Yeah, nothing really else to say other than 67 is a lot, and at minus 110, I'm hammering that.
Yeah, I will say I think Brian Kelly is going to end up beating Lane Kiffin here, but I'm going to be rooting for Ole Miss.
Yeah,
So
I'm definitely
we'll see,
rooting
we'll
for
see how
Ole
it goes.
Miss and that squad, but it's going to come down to Ole Miss's defensive line. If they're able to kind of hold them and play it as well as they did against Bama until the second half when they started getting the ball ran against them. I
Hmm.
feel like then they'll have a decent shot to beat LSU. A lot of LSU's played a lot of close games, other than the two blowouts, but the other two were pretty close games, and it just feels like this one could be another one where just close game and it goes under.
LSU barely pulled it off against Arkansas. I do think Ole Miss is a lot better of a team, but I do think Brian Kelly is going to wake that team up, having them ready to play. So I
Yeah,
would take the minus 120. I think it was for money line on that game for LSU.
yep, solid pick there too. Next game, I know this one's kind of one that you're really paying attention to. NC State and Louisville. NC State's looked
Yep.
pretty rocky the first couple weeks with that quarterback Brennan Armstrong. He's been kind of had ups and downs, more downs than ups. Louisville's looked pretty strong. Offense looks great. Defense is kind of shaky. Tell us a little bit more about what you think about that one.
Yeah, I'm considering going to that game at Carter Finley Friday night. It is a Friday night, so it's a shorter week. Obviously, it's at NC State, so they should have the advantage. I know last year they were 6-1 at home. This year they are 1-1, but the loss was Notre Dame, which is respectable. NC State has a great defense, or at least I feel like they should have a better defense. Louisville's offense is absolutely incredible, and I'm interested to see how that matchup goes of Louisville offense putting up points against NC State's defense. I'm going to take Louisville money line. I think they're 4-point favorites, and I think they'll probably end up covering it. But it is hard to say. If you're unsure, I would go towards not betting the game just because NC State is home on a short week. They have a solid defense, and Louisville's undefeated, and maybe it's time for a loss. But I do think
Yeah,
their offense with Jawar Jordan and Thrash, Jack Plummer, I don't think is the best quarterback, having been I
yeah,
think Purdue 3 years and then Cal for a year. He's in his fifth year, but he's been looking good for them.
yeah. They definitely are
So
throwing the ball around pretty well.
yeah,
So
what are
yeah,
your
I'm
thoughts
with
on
you.
that one?
With you, I'm with you on Louisville money line. I think that Louisville's offense is just going to be able to overwhelm NC State. NC State's defense has looked pretty good, but at the end of the day, they're going to have to score, and I don't think their offense is going to be able to move the ball enough to keep up with Louisville. I think this will probably like a 10 to 14 point game, but I just see Louisville money line being the easy hammer on this one. I think they've looked probably the best out of a lot of those teams in the ACC. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, minus 160 on Louisville money line for that one. Next game on the slate, we talked a lot about Notre Dame, Ohio State. But they have another tough game. They get to come back and play Duke, and yeah, I mean that's going to be have to be a bounce back game from them. I know we both kind of like Notre Dame. We obviously liked them this last week, and that was a heartbreak for you. But talk about kind of some of the things you like for that matchup against Duke.
Duke has a solid front, I would say. Their defense always seems solid. But when I was at the Clemson Duke game, Will Shipley was getting 5, 6 yards a touch. And so if they can get the ball to Audric Estime, I think Notre Dame's offensive line is good enough to move Duke. So even if they can stop them early, I think if they keep pounding the football, Notre Dame's going to be able to win it. And then Sam Hartman's obviously a beast and can sling the ball. So if he needs to, he can do that. Duke is, I mean, I was there. It seems like it would be a hard place to play at. It's not as big of a venue as some places are. But that football team looks good. Riley Leonard can run the football, dual threat quarterback. I think he likes to run it a little bit too much, which might end up costing him this week when I think he should be throwing it. But I think Notre Dame covers the 5, bouncing back. I think they're minus 200, 220, somewhere in that range. So I would just play it safe and take them money line, bouncing back after a tough loss. Should be able to put up 30, I would expect, after getting shut down to 14 in at home against Ohio State.
Yeah, I expect this game to be a bit of a battle at the beginning, but I think just later on in the game, Notre Dame's going to be able to get some momentum and just take the game into their own hands and win. Still think it'll be
Yeah.
close, but Notre Dame money line minus 220 feels right. Next game on the slate is South Carolina and Tennessee. I know we talked a lot about that one. Spencer Rattler last year absolutely lit it up against Hendon Hooker in Tennessee. We both love South Carolina plus 13 at minus
Love the
110.
Cox.
Feels great.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, not much else to say other than Spencer Rattler going to take it to him again.
Yeah, I mean they're plus 13, hammer it, take it
Yeah.
to the bank. Maybe plus 350 or 335, whatever it was for money line. Might sprinkle some on that. Go Cox. That's all there is to say.
Yeah, I think that there's even a solid chance they win that game. Money line there is
Yeah,
decent money there too.
it's tempting.
ASU
Yep.
is plus 12 against Cal. Cal's look
Mhm.
pretty bad, and ASU looked decent against USC. They didn't look terrible, but they didn't look great. They looked horrible against Fresno State, but they also hadn't really played together as a team all that much. So Fresno State had a lot of third and fourth year guys. So I don't know. I think that was a lot of it was just the experience factor. And if they were able to play SC that well, I feel like, plus 12 against Cal is heavy points in favor of ASU. I think there's a chance they even win that game, but for me, ASU plus 12 feels like another lock.
Yeah, I'm taking the Sun Devils plus 12. I'm going to hammer that, take that to the bank. I'm going to take a money line. I'm not worried about a Cal football team. They usually suck. And my boy Cameron Scadaboo, straight from Sac State, just transferred into Arizona State. He just had 200 plus all-purpose yards against USC. Feed him. That's all there is to it. Give him the football, let him run it, let him throw it. He threw for 45 yards against USC, and he also can catch the ball. So give him the ball and go win a football game.
Yep, ASU plus 12. I like Dillingham over there from Oregon, the old Oregon offensive coordinator. Give him a couple years, let him recruit. I think they're going to have a decent squad over there at ASU. Cal, on the other hand, absolute dog water. I think they're just going to struggle, and they may end
They're
up winning this
terrible.
game, but they're not going to cover 12 points. I can tell you that right now. So ASU plus 12, hammer that. Drew Pine's getting his way into this team. So yeah, go ASU. Next game, Kentucky and Florida. This one
Hell yeah.
is a heavy one because
Let's
Florida lost
go.
that opening game to Utah, but they looked pretty solid since then with ETN as their back. So talk a little bit about that one because I know you like Kentucky.
Yeah, I love Kentucky. It's Devin Leary at quarterback for Kentucky, who's way better than Will Levis was, that's for sure. He
Yeah.
came from NC State. He was a baller with NC State. They were winning football games. Kentucky has a great defense, and we saw what Florida produced against a good defense in Utah. I'm expecting them to get shut down. Graham Mertz isn't good. Wisconsin, terrible. Now he's here. He's still not very good. I do like ETN. If they can run the football, that'll be interesting. But I think Kentucky stacks the box, makes Mertz throw it, and it'll probably be a low scoring game. I don't remember seeing what the over under was at, but it's a 1 point spread, and I'm hammering Kentucky on the money line.
Yeah, I think Kentucky money line just makes sense in this game. Florida has had a couple games where they just look kind of shaky, so Kentucky with a strong start to the season, expect them to keep it going this week.
At
Uh,
home, at
yeah,
home.
yeah, at home. Last game on the slate that we wanted to talk about was West Virginia and TCU. West Virginia's 13-point dogs against TCU. So talk about a little bit what do you like about that West Virginia team in this one?
Yeah, I watched West Virginia put up a fight for most of the game week one against Penn State in a whiteout, which was fairly impressive with how close they kept it for what I was expecting from that team after JT Daniels left, and I didn't know what they were going to be left with as a whole. They just beat Texas Tech, who put up a fight with Oregon, 20-13 this week. Their defense looks solid. Their offense isn't great.
No.
I don't really like TCU though. I just watched them against SMU. Obviously, the Colorado game, they lost that. Uh, TCU is better coached. I do like the West Virginia defense. I think that they're going to be good enough to at least keep it close with TCU. What was the line on that one?
The line on that game is 13.
Yeah, so I'm going to take West Virginia with the 13 points. Uh, I don't think that they're necessarily going to win the game, but I could see them leading going into the fourth quarter and then, getting outscored 14-0 or something like that. But I think that they're going to cover, and I could see them, keeping it within one score the whole time.
Yeah, I think you have that exactly right. I think this is a close game until the fourth quarter. I think then TCU ends up finding a way to get back to back possessions, scores two quick touchdowns, ends up winning by probably 10, maybe even 14. Plus 13, with how West Virginia is going to keep it close until the end, with how I'm thinking that, I feel like plus 13 is the better play there because TCU has had a shaky start to the season, haven't looked great on defense. And if West Virginia is able to run the ball a little bit, then I think they'll be able to keep it closer than 13. So, yep, give me West Virginia plus 13, minus 110 on that.
Yeah.
Right on. So, yeah, that's going to do it for CFB for the week. Talked a lot about some great games and um, yeah, I mean, nothing more to say. A lot of solid picks in there. I think that we're going to find a lot of winners again. So best of luck this week for CFB. Transitioning now to NFL. A lot of good games in the NFL this week again. We were cooking last week with the NFL, so let's try and keep it up. First game on the slate: Packers and Lions. I believe the Lions are 1.5 point favorites now. I started at one. Now it's at 1.5. I know you like the Lions.
In
I
Green
like the
Bay.
Lions. We liked the Lions last week. We like them again this week. The Packers have not a rookie quarterback, but his first year starting. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, Lions. That's all I got to say. We're taking the Lions.
Yeah, I think that Lions got it figured out. Dan Campbell's got those guys playing, and the Lions' offense is going to be able to take it to the Packers. I think that this is going to be one of the games that the Packers aren't going to be able to recover from. So we'll see. Next game on the slate is we talked a little bit about this game. It's in London. Jags and the Falcons. It's so difficult to call a game in London, but with the Jags schedule the next 4 weeks, it doesn't feel like this is a game they can lose. So with that, give me the Jags money line against the Falcons. Falcons started the season now 2-1. They're still record still shows I think better than what they are. Bijan's incredible, but teams are going to figure that out. So yep, give me the
And
Jags
that's
money line.
fine in the division where the Saints are playing the Bucks to see who gets 3 wins. The other's going to be at two still, so they'll be fine even if they take another loss. Whereas the Jags need to win, being one back of the Colts, who are playing the Rams, who aren't phenomenal this week. Also,
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Jags money line in London. Expect Trevor Lawrence to have a little bit of a bounce back week. Minus
yeah,
170 on that one. Next game on the slate, big game. Bills and Dolphins. Both these teams have been looking incredible. I know you're on the Bills this
70
week.
points,
Yeah, 70 points for the
70
Dolphins
points.
last week, especially against a Broncos defense that's not known to be terrible. So just to lay it on them like that was pretty crazy. What do you think of Dolphins Bills this week?
Yeah, I was gonna say I was real shocked by the fact that they put up seven, and I am shocked that they put up 700 yards. But I was also thinking, Sam Howell had more interceptions than he did points against the Bills. He put up 35 on the Broncos. So I'm not as impressed anymore now that I think about it. That
Yeah.
guy sucks at football. They pulled off a win. Um, the Dolphins are good. Like I said at the beginning of the year, I have them winning that division. This one's in Buffalo. Everyone's giving the Bills crap because they lost week one, which was on a punt return touchdown, I might add. It was week one. Josh Allen turned it over, I think, 4 times. Have you seen what he's done since then? I think they're outscoring the two teams 75-13. It's in Buffalo. I got the Bills.
Yeah, I like the Bills money line against the Dolphins minus 150. Feels right. Dolphins have been cruising. It's tough to bet against them, but the Bills' defense has been solid. So these last 2 weeks, especially, it's just been lockdown. So look for that to happen again. Tyreek Hill is going to eventually find a lockdown guy that's going to be able to cover him.
He got locked down by the Pats.
Yeah, I
Rookie out
must
of
say
Oregon.
Christian Gonzalez, baby, let's go. But yeah, this week someone's going to find a way to lock him down in that Bills secondary. So yeah, Bills money line. Next game, talked about a little bit, Broncos, and they play the Bears, who are the worst team, I think, in the entire league after watching these first 3 weeks. So yeah, what do you think of that one?
I'm going to say that I gave Russell Wilson a lot of crap last year because it was deserved. He doesn't deserve it this year. Their
No,
defense is terrible. What happened overnight, I could not tell you.
no.
But they look horrible. The Bears look horrible.
I think it's their
I'm
D
just going to
line.
take the Broncos. I'm just going to take the Broncos on the fact that Sean Payton. I thought that they were going to bounce back last week potentially because they were 0-2. So I'm just going to say they're going to bounce back this week and get one win.
Yeah, I think after the 70-20 beating, I hope they have a chip on their shoulder. So yeah, give me Broncos money line. I think the Bears are the worst team in the league. I think they're worse than the Cardinals. Their entire team seems out of sorts. The Jets at least have a decent defense. Bears just suck. So yeah,
Bears just suck.
give me the Broncos money line, baby. They're gonna find a way with
Yeah.
Russ and Sean Payton. If he loses this game, he's out of there. There's no chance he's gonna keep coaching that team. I think he's gonna take. If he loses this game, he's gonna take a look at himself in the mirror and go, "I don't think you can coach this shit. This is terrible. Get me the hell out of here." So yeah, I think that could
We'll see
happen.
how it goes.
Next game on the slate, Ravens and Browns. Huge game in that one. Ravens need a bounce
Big
back
game.
win after this loss to the Colts. Browns looks solid, even after losing Chubb. I think they're 2.5 or 3 point favorites this week. I like the Ravens to bounce back. Who do you like this week?
Ravens. I liked the Colts last week. They came through for me. We liked the Ravens the week before against the Bengals. I feel like I've been pretty hot with the Ravens so far this year. Got them right where we want them. They had 7 starters out last week, so I'm interested to see this week who's playing, who's not. Browns defense is scary. I know they won at home last year 13-3.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully the Ravens can score some points against that defense. I think this is a big test. If OBJ is playing, Flowers is playing, Mark Andrews is playing. Uh, if they can hold them under 20, it'll be interesting. I don't expect the Browns to do too much on offense,
Yeah,
but I'm taking the Ravens +3, and I'm going to take the money line.
I think that this is going to be the game that the Ravens defense is really going to show out and step up for Lamar. Yeah, I love that Ravens money line against the Browns this week. Next game
Plus
on the
points.
slate, yep, plus the points as well. Love that. Next game, Bengals just bounced back against the Rams. They have the Titans next week. Um, they have a pretty tough schedule after that, so looking for them to bounce back again against the Titans, even with an unhealthy Burrow. I think that they're going to be able to get the job done. Money line at minus 140 feels right. I think the Bengals are just a better team. Titans quarterback Tannehill can't throw the ball. Not much else to say.
And they can't run it. Yeah.
Derrick Henry hasn't been impressive, and Tannehill can't throw it. So I don't know what else to really say about the Titans other than they got lucky against the Chargers, and they're not going to beat the Bengals.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the Bengals. I don't love it. If you don't want to bet it, don't bet it. I might not
Yeah.
bet it, but I'm taking the Bengals.
Yeah. On the other side of the ball, Titans are a lot better. I think their defense is actually pretty solid, but and main reason for that is just Vrabel. I think Vrabel always has that defense stacked. I think that's where they're going to focus. with him as their head coach, but until they get an offensive coordinator and somebody who can recruit and draft well for them on the offensive side of the ball, they're going to struggle, especially with Tannehill in there. That dude sucks, I must say. What?
This Tannehill just sucks.
Yeah, he is terrible, man.
You just
But
got me.
like, there's so many bad NFL quarterbacks this season. I'm really looking forward to these Heisman hopefuls in college this year in the Pac-12 because they're going to have a lot of teams that they could start on and for sure make an impact on immediately. So looking for that. Next game, Giants and Seahawks. Giants just smacked the absolute crap out of the Panthers defense, which I was not expecting.
Seahawks did.
Seahawks just smacked the crap out of the Panthers defense. Was not expecting that. Andy Dalton still played a pretty good game, but the Seahawks were able to cover the 5.5. I think honestly with the Seahawks offense, the way they got rolling last week, I think this is going to be a bit of an offensive battle. I think that the Giants defense isn't great. I think that the Seahawks defense isn't great either after letting up 27 to Andy Dalton. I'm slamming the over 47. I think this is my first over pick of the season. It did start at 46.5. I did like it at 46.5. I do still like it at 47. So give me the Seahawks and Giants over 47.
I like that. Actually. 47 is not a lot for those two teams. I'm sure I saw Seahawks were even money. Giants, I think, were minus 120. The Giants have a follow-up in Miami, followed by in Buffalo. They have to win this week, otherwise the season's already done. So I'm going to take the Giants in the money line. If you don't like it, I'll take the over. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, the over feels good for this one. Yeah, over 47. I also like DK Metcalf, whatever his receiving yards is, pound the over. I think that he's going to have good matchups this week. And, they're going to be able to throw the ball all over the Giants.
I kind of like Lockett this week, but yeah.
Okay.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Next game, Chiefs and Jets. Obviously, the Jets are all out of sorts. Chiefs, I feel like 9.5 isn't enough. I know you in particular don't like this game just because of how good the Jets defense has looked. They have been able to keep themselves in the game. But I think that this is the breaking point for that team, that the defense is going to finally just go, damn, our offense sucks this bad, and just finally give up. And against the reigning Super Bowl champions, Travis Kelce's dating Taylor Swift. Tough to go against the Chiefs right now, especially after losing opening week. They've kind of been on a mission. They got Chris Jones back like we talked about. Give me the Chiefs minus 9.5 against the Jets, minus 110. Love that. I'm sure that number is going to move up too. So you get it while you can.
Yeah, you heard it from him. I'm not touching it, but you go ahead.
Next game, Rams and Colts. Rams had a pretty tough game against Bengals last week. Colts, great win with Gardner Minshew. Absolute stud, but they are going to have
Anthony. My guy. Yeah. He's so good. He's so good.
He is the best backup quarterback I think probably to ever play.
Anthony Richardson said it best. I'm surprised I'm starting. Yeah, you wonder? Yeah, no. It's like the guy was shocked when he got named the starter, and it's not hard to see why. He's not great. He hasn't looked bad, but he's not great. And Gardner's good. He's a good quarterback. Jets, please go get him.
Yeah, must say, Gardner's looked great. If Anthony Richardson's going to start this game, give me the Rams money line. Rams are bouncing back from last week.
Yeah. Give me the Rams. Yep. If Gardner's playing, I'm interested in the game. Might even watch it. If he's not, I probably won't watch it. I'm just going to hammer the Rams plus. I'll probably throw $100 at the Rams plus 115 or 105. If it's plus points, I'm throwing money at it. That's for sure.
Yeah, maybe Puka Nacua over 10 receptions or something.
Dude, I don't know. Colts defense is good. I'll give them that. Yeah, Colts have a good defense.
Their defense has been playing pretty lights out to start the season, so good for them. Colts, I think they're at the top of the division right now. So
2-1.
That team, I must say, they're doing good in the AFC and the AFC too. Yeah. Tough league. So yeah, next game, Vikings Panthers.
That's a tough one.
Not much to say about that one. Both those teams are having a tough go. 0-3. Vikings feel like have to win this one. Panthers, it feels like, still have building to do. So they weren't even able to get it done with Andy Dalton, who did look good, but with the new quarterback, their defense decides to not play. So if that's going to happen again, give me Kirk Cousins in that first ranked offense. That somehow that team is still 0-3.
Yeah. Yep, I think Bryce Young's back. I think he has pressure on him now to go out there and get a win or at least produce on the offensive side of the football because Andy Dalton could do it in Seattle. Um, I'm going to take the Vikings.
Yeah,
I don't think that they're that bad. I don't think they're a great football team. We said at the beginning of the year, maybe 9-8, 10-7. I don't think they're like 0-4 bad. I
no.
also thought yeah, I mean, I don't think the Panthers are that bad either. So it's in Carolina. But the Vikings offense has looked good. They just got to figure out how to win close games like they did last year.
So yep, Vikings money line minus 185 against Panthers. Next game, Steelers and Texans. Texans had a big win last week against the Jags. I don't look for that to happen again, especially against the Steelers defense that's absolutely flying all over the place. Steelers offense started to kind of get it going. Still can't get Najee the ball in good spots, but he also kind of looks like a brick trying to run the ball. Give me the Steelers money line against the Texans. I don't think they're going to have the same firepower. Jags are kind of one of those shaky 9-8, 10-7, 8-9 teams. So yeah, I like the
And
Steelers
Trevor
defense.
Lawrence. Yeah, Trevor Lawrence doesn't beat the Texans. I think he's 1-4. He might be 1-5 now.
True.
So I wasn't completely shocked to see that one. I didn't bet the Jags in any of my parlays or anything like that because of it. I don't think the Texans are that good. CJ Stroud has looks pretty solid. I'll give him that. He hasn't thrown a pick yet. I think he set a record, or he's in the top couple for amount of passes thrown to start your career without an interception. That's going to change, I think, this week. If it doesn't change, maybe he fumbles it. He's going to have TJ Watt sacking him twice, maybe three times. The Steelers' defense is good. Their offense isn't great, but the Texans' defense isn't great. So I do think Steelers come out, they cover the points, they get the win. Minus
Yeah.
160, I think it was pretty solid.
Yeah, Steelers money line at minus 160 feels great. I look for that Steelers defense to get a lot of turnovers in this game, especially sack fumbles. I think this is the game where CJ Stroud's going to hold on to the ball, going to feel a little bit too comfortable, and then either TJ Watt or Alex Highsmith is going to come around the edge and just clobber him, and he's going to end up fumbling the ball at least once, maybe twice. So look for that as
Mm-hmm.
well. Big turnovers coming from the Steelers DNs. So yeah, Steelers money line minus 160. Next game, we talked a little bit about it. Saints and Bucks. Bucks are 3.5 point dogs against the Saints. Maybe without Derek Carr. Looks like they're going to be without Derek Carr. Jameis didn't look too impressive once he got in the game. Bucks plus 3.5 for me, man. If the Saints aren't going to have Derek Carr, I feel like the Bucks are a hammer. Plus money, or sorry, not plus money, but at plus 3.5, it feels like that they could easily win that game, let alone get 3 points.
Yeah, I'm going to take plus 3.5. I'm going to take them plus 135 or whatever they might be listed at right now.
Yeah, I think the
I
money
think the
line's
Bucks cut.
145 right now for the Bucks, so that's
Yeah,
pretty
I'll
solid.
take. I might throw a good chunk at that as well. I like the plus money. I like to find good games where it's doable.
That is a divisional game too.
It's a divisional game. It's in
New
it's
Orleans.
at Saints, I think. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's in New Orleans. But I think I'm gonna take the Bucks for sure.
Yeah, and look for the Bucks to have a bounce back week because they just played a really tough Eagles team, and
Mhm.
they didn't look great, but they've learned a lot about their team. I think they actually do have a pretty decent team. So let's see if they can put it together against the Derek Carr less Saints. So
Yeah,
yeah, I think that'll be a good game to watch though. Very defensive game, that
that'll
one
be fun. Yeah,
for sure.
should be a good one.
Next one is Niners Cardinals. Niners were an absolute lock against the Giants. Look for them to be an absolute lock again. They're just a wagon. I think we talked about it before the season started. They're just loaded on both sides of the ball. So minus 14
Hammer it.
feels like a lock. I feel like they win this game by 17, if not 21, maybe even more. But there will be a point that they're going to start to ease off the gas against this team. So look for that. But I don't expect it to be until they're at least 3 scores up.
Yeah, I can see like a solid 41-3
Yeah.
ass kicking.
Maybe not that crazy, but maybe like 41-13 or 41-17, something like that.
Yeah, or three, maybe six. I'll see.
Niners D, baby.
Give me
You
the
never
give me
know.
the give me the give me the Niners minus 14.
Yeah,
Give me a defensive
absolutely.
score. Find me the odds on defensive touchdown for the Niners and take that. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Niners minus 14. Give me that. Last game on my slate, Chargers against the Raiders. Chargers are big time favorites. The money line on them is minus 250. They had a solid showing against this Vikings team. Obviously, the defense is still not playing really up to par. I think that Jimmy G, this is finally going to be one of those weeks where the Chargers defense is going to be able to get it together. They're going to find a guy that can try and cover Devontae, and they're going to find a couple deflected passes, get a couple picks, get the possessions back, and I think that the Chargers are going to win this game handily. So I'm looking for Chargers money line against the Raiders.
Yeah, I don't like the 5.5 points.
Nah.
The Raiders' offense is fairly solid. Uh, I mean, at least Devontae Adams is. Their run game looks terrible so far, and I haven't noticed anyone on the field other than Devontae Adams. So maybe they're not as solid as I feel like they are, but I'm taking the Chargers money line either way. I'm just going to stick with the Chargers. I don't love it if no Eckler, but yeah, who knows? That's what we're going with.
Yeah, Chargers money line minus 250. We really enjoyed these first few weeks, so thank you guys all for tuning in. Um, Give us a like, subscribe, comment. Let us know a little bit more about some of the teams that you may want to know more about or have us talk about.
Also, when you're doing these picks, send them to us. If you're taking some of the ones that we're doing, I'm throwing all kinds of money at it. Football just started a couple weeks ago, and I'm up over 600 in the last month. I'm enjoying it. I hope that people are taking picks and rocking with it too, and also winning money because that's kind of why we're doing it. We like talking sports, we like having fun, but it doesn't hurt to win a little bit of money while we're doing it.
Yeah, we definitely
So,
would love seeing the green slips. Even if it's not ours, we love seeing other people's. So, definitely send them green slips over. And hopefully everybody has a good weekend. And we'll see you guys next week. Thank you very much.
yep. See you next
Peace.
time.